Okay, can everyone take a seat? Can everyone take a seat? Councilman Azuri, can you come up? Thank you. Okay, now we're going to get started on our Neighborhoods, Community Service, and Public Health and Safety Committee. We're going to start down with Colleen.
Colleen Hampsey, Council Research.
Jordan Ellsbury, Administration.
Kim Taylor, Council Auditor's Office.
Paige Johnston, Office of General Counsel.
Jim Love, District 14.
Sam Newby, Group 5.
Aaron Bowman, District 3.
Garrett Dennis, District 9.
Scott Wilson, District 4.
Missouri, Group 3 at large visitor.
Thank you. Before we get started with our agenda, we're going to have a presentation from the Health Department. We're going to have a weekly presentation. Now, I'm sure everyone see that they have a book in front of them. And in this committee, you're supposed to bring your book every meeting, because you will get graded on your book, and not only for the councilman, but for staff too. So I just want to let you know, bring your book every meeting. Councilman Wilson, you understand? Okay. Mr. Vice Chairman, I know you Vice President, but you still got to bring your book. You understand? Okay. You do bring your book. You brought your book. Okay. I know Councilman Creston was going to bring his book. I already knew that. So I didn't even have to talk to him. But the one I'm concerned about is Bowman and Wilson. Okay. Okay, we're going to let the Health Department.
Good morning. Through the chair, Allison Hewitt, Department of Health in Duval County. Yes, you have your updated Department of Health updates. Just a brief explanation. You will be getting week updates every meeting, Zika updates every meeting. Monthly, we do our epidemiology reports that include all the systemic diseases that happen in Duval County for the month. You will be able to put the report there. The Duval County project information, that will be in case there is any special requests from you, the committee, for presentations that come directly to you. And then a DOH special updates, example, any activities in opioids or infant mortality that is not just the regular day-to-day operations. They will go under the special updates. But as I make the presentation, I will tell you what section it goes into your folder to make sure you can keep all the Department of Health Duval information accumulated in one spot, because I know you deal with several issues, and Dr. Wells wanted to make sure that you were able to put your hand on Department of Health information whenever you needed for data. Just a brief updates is back to school. We are focusing on physicals and immunization. So we have a flyer there, and we are partnering with the Newtown Success Zone on Saturday, August 5th. We actually will be doing immunization on site for ages 10 through 18. And this month is National Breastfeeding Month, and we're having the global big latch on August 4th. And that's it for the updates for activities. Yes, Breastfeeding Month is the last page. We're having the Global Latch On, which will have a large group of breastfeeding mothers able to provide support and assistance.
Councilman Love, you might want to leave that one alone. No other questions, and thank you for your update.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. What do you say, Councilman? No, we didn't have any Zika updates today, did we? It's in the book, but you don't have. I'll let you see my book. Okay. Okay, now we're going to go to the agenda. We're going to jump around since we have Councilman Kazira here. We're going to go to page 4, item 7, 2017-450. Can we get a motion, a second? Okay, we have no one in the queue. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Okay, we have no one in the queue. Mr. Zeri, you wanna?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And since you had just some brief remarks, let me just mention the bill itself. Really, the amendment strikes food services, and I'll address that at a later date. But what we've done here, the bill that all of y'all voted on unanimously last year, and it's really become very effective, is when we required the signages for human traffic awareness to go up based on the state law and the different massage parlors and the transportation centers and certain bars in town. We've added this year, which is probably the most prominent of all, where human trafficking takes place in Jacksonville, are our hotels. And with us today, I have Lieutenant Richard Bowie, who is the new director of the JSO Integrity Unit, Aaron Wilson, Assistant State Attorney, and also has been assigned to by the U.S. Attorney for the special area as well, and Lindsay Ott, who's a community engagement in the State Attorney's Office. And y'all remember David Chapman, who's now the PR person for the State Attorney's Office. Melissa Nelson, our State Attorney, and their staff, you know, they have 10 divisions that they've created since she's been elected. One of those divisions is strictly on human trafficking and crimes against the elderly. And I'm really proud of what they've done in separating that as a division. And I'd like to ask, if you could, Mr. Chairman, if Aaron Wilson, who could come up and just give us a quick update on what they've done in this area as far as fighting human trafficking in Jacksonville. Y'all recall 2 weeks ago what happened with that big semi and all the immigrants that were on there, the migrant workers, and 10 or 12 of them died of suffocation. There are another 30 on there who are potentially almost dead as themselves. And this is a big problem, and we're in the top 3 in Florida. So I think this addresses another main ingredient in our addressing of the human trafficking that's taking place. Aaron?
Yeah, Aaron, you want to come up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And anybody who'd like to co-sponsor this bill is more than welcome. Many of y'all did last year.
Good morning. I'm Aaron Wolfson, as City Council member has already stated, and I've been assigned by Melissa Nelson as the human trafficking prosecutor with our office. I believe it is the first time that the State Attorney's Office has had a prosecutor dedicated strictly to dealing with human trafficking cases. They are far more complex than most other cases, as common sense tells you, because of the nuances involved with these cases. We are excited about this bill. It is very important to have these signs in hotels. Right now, that is where we get most of our cases from hotels, whether they're along the 95 corridor or out by the airport or at the end of JTB and Bay Meadows area, and that's where we get most of our cases. So this is important to us at the State Attorney's Office and, of course, to our city because of the huge problem.
Okay, no, you have a question for her? Okay. Oh, well, we'll start with Councilman Bowman. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Through Chair to Ms. Wilson. There was a case a few months ago in Orange Park. They had a hotel down there that had just been through what you just described. What is our ability as a city to target hotels that are sponsoring that type of activity, and what do you do when you find that?
We actually made an arrest, and I'm not sure if it's the same hotel that you're referring to or not, but we did make an arrest of a hotel manager who, based on statements he had made, and it's a pending criminal case right now, so I can't go into too many details, but we did arrest a manager based on what we felt, and we believe that there was knowledge and evidence that he knew what was going on. So we are certainly taking a look at that and taking a look at the hotels that have this problem clearly more than other hotels.
And I guess that's where I'm going. I mean, if somebody reports something going on in a hotel, I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure, one, the hotel knows, and then two, determine if the hotel was endorsing that type of activity. A question for you and maybe Mr. Hazuri. We took that action about a year ago. Are we keeping metrics on calls that we know we're getting because we had those posts done?
Yes, sir. Mr. Bowen, I have Lieutenant Bowie here, who's heading up the Integrity Unit, and he can tell us exactly what's going on with them, and that's their responsibility. If Richard can come up and just address that, unless you want to. I don't want to put you on the spot, Richard. Come on up. if that's okay, Mr. Chairman. And while
Yes,
you're
sir.
doing that, that case that you're talking about is where the lady was in there for 21 days, and no one knew anything about it, and all of a sudden, Aaron's not going to tell you that right now probably, but in detail, after a while, he just kind of talked so much. It's hard to get the managers to come forward with it. He talked so much. It was basically a confession that he knew what was going on in that hotel. And also, these signage aren't going to be put up in a way where it's going to embarrass the hotel. They're going to be put in the employee section, so the employees, who are the ones that are really the ones that's going to be held responsible, will know that this is happening. Yes, sir. Lieutenant, is that okay, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning. I'm Lieutenant Rich Buey, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office Integrity Unit. And just to follow up on what Councilman Hazuri said, that was the plan, was to have this in the employee break room area, because that's who you're focusing in on, and where you would get the most pushback. Of course, if you put that thing right up where people are coming in, and you walk into a hotel, and people are going to look at it and go, "What the heck is this?" Right. Well, we're not looking for that. We're looking for the employees, because I've worked narcotics and vice, and now I'm doing human trafficking. And one thing I found out is our best cases always come from someone who either lives/works in that area, and they know that area, and something just, it's not right. And now we're throwing that up there, and that's giving somebody a little ammunition going, this just doesn't look right. When we get those phone calls, with the tip hotline or whatever, however it comes in, those are usually the best cases we work. And for us, those are invaluable. When the people are calling in, those cases work best for us.
Through the chair, what Mr. Bowman was asking too is how we're keeping account of what we get, the calls we get. Now, this is an 888 number, so it's a national call, and it works its way back to the state attorney's office and to Lieutenant Boyd's outfit. So how you determine that, I'm not certain. So.
Oh, I can get the numbers for you, Councilman. I don't have them right now, but I can get them, and I do know that they're constantly coming in, because I have the 2 detectives who are dedicated to this in my unit. I am constantly working with them as I'm getting these emails and forwarding it to them, and then they're going out and investigating. But we do get these things pretty much on a daily basis.
And I certainly would like to see that, because what I'm thinking is if this is a successful program showing that it's increased awareness, increased reporting, I want to share that. I want to take it to the Association of Counties and Cities and show them what we're doing in Jacksonville. And Councilman Hazuri, I'll be happy to co-sponsor this with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I can get that for you. I'll get that for you.
Also, if you can just forward to all the committee members, I'm sure all the committee members would like to know the numbers.
Yeah, I can do that, sir. Not a problem.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Love.
Thank you, through the chair. I would also like to co-sponsor. And to Lieutenant Bowie, how many cases are you working right now? 1, 5?
Oh, sir,
50?
I'm trying. We got an entire board full. It's more than 20.
More than 20 right now you're working on, okay?
Yes, sir.
So probably the number of incidents is 100 a year, or what do you think?
I think it's more than that, sir.
More than 100 a year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
In fact, since 14, and correct me if I'm wrong, since 14, the numbers have just skyrocketed. And it's not that human trafficking has gone through the roof. It's now people are starting to notice that this is a crime.
Right.
It's like anything else. They didn't realize that this was a crime,
Right.
and including the police. Because when I was working vice, we didn't worry about the pimps so much. It was it was the moral aspect of it. We were going to get the prostitutes. But now all of a sudden people are looking at it a different light. These women are victims.
Right.
And so we're looking at it that way now. So since 14, it's just things like this bill and the government and news is just being more pronounced, that people are starting to realize that this is a problem, and people are starting to call us on it. And also the police are getting training on it, so which never happened in the past. Now they are. Now they're getting training on it, and they're starting to notice these things. So when they deal with a call for service, a patrol officer will call sergeant will give us a call, because we're on call 24 hours, and they'll come out. So that's why you're seeing it just skyrocket in the last 3 years, just because we're starting to realize that this is a problem.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, this is exactly why we need to have JSO here at every meeting to give us a breakdown. We may have known about this earlier. Councilman Hazuri's bill could have been passed quicker if we have a constant dialogue, at least a twice-a-month dialogue with JSO to tell us about these problems. And so So anyway, I think this goes as proof why we need to have them here every meeting.
Thank you, Councilman Dennis.
Through the chair, thank you all for being here. Do you see a difference between, or is there a difference, or do you look at it, human trafficking different from a sexual human trafficking versus slave labor? Or do you approach both human trafficking investigations the same?
We approach them both the same way, sir. The sexual aspect, that's with the news, that really got you. But the labor is just as bad. These people are being duped pretty much when they're being brought in. They have no idea what they're about to get into, and then once they're here, they're stuck. And where they come from, a lot of times, they're scared to death of law enforcement. So it's not like they're going to sit there and go, you know what, I think I'm being taken advantage of, let me go talk to a police officer. They're scared to death, between being scared of the police and also scared of who's put them in that position. So we do look at it, and it's both the same, sir. We look at it both ways.
So through the chair, so probably out of that 20 that's on your board, what's the breakdown? More sexual?
It's more sexual, yes, sir.
Okay.
It is. At least right now, that's what we're dealing with more.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Also, I'd like you to add me as a co-sponsor for this bill. Okay, we have no one on.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick follow-up. You know, we can do just so much as a city council with bills like this, but we're also, you know, it's going much further than this, and that's what we're looking at. We're not treating prostitutes, quote, that's not the word to use anymore for us. It's survivors, and we're addressing that, and we're looking at them from hopefully to get more information from the survivors, and we're trying to provide for the homeless as well. I know Mr. Cressenby and I have been working on the Victim Services Building. They're also working on other facilities. I think Mrs. Weaver, I guess the Weaver Foundation is looking at another facility on the outskirts of town to do the same thing, because a lot of people don't want to go into the central area and be seen and such. So it's a real combination of all of us, but it goes beyond. And what Mr. Dennis was talking about, labor, you know, migrant workers is a big area, but we don't have that many. They are in Hastings, you know, where they're picking potatoes and such. But we're also talking about domestic employment, and that's the other thing that they have to get a handle on, and that's what we're working on every day. I've learned so much about this, and I'm sure y'all have too. In every movie you see now, it has to do with human trafficking, or on the news at night. So I think we're tackling this problem as a city in the way that we can, working hand in hand with the sheriff's office, as well as and all the volunteers that are out there, the different organizations. Retreat's celebrating their 6th anniversary downtown next Saturday, but the number of organizations here in town that are voluntarily putting up these signs for us as well. So it's a community effort, and I'm really proud of what the state attorney's office has done in their commitment, as well as and I was talking to the sheriff the other day, and how interested he is also in moving forward on this. And Lieutenant, thank you for coming on board. Thank you, and thank you, Aaron.
Councilman Love for the second time.
Thank you, through the chair, to Lieutenant Bowie again. Does this number sound familiar for the National Human Trafficking Resource Center? 1-888-3737-888.
Yes, sir.
Is that it?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay, great, because if anybody knows about it, you can call that number, and eventually it'll get to you. Is that correct?
It will, yes,
And that's
sir.
for the entire nation, 1-888-3737-888. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have no one on the queue. Can you open the ballot?
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you approve 2017-450. Let's turn back to page 2. Okay. 2016-676 is going to be deferred. 2017-20 is also going to be deferred. Let's turn to page 3. 2017-231 is going to be deferred. 2017-427. Okay, we have a motion and a second. We have no one in the queue. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The amendment passes. Okay, we have no one on the queue. Yes, we do. Councilman Dennis.
Through the chair, to my colleagues on last committee meeting, I I raised concerns about one of the organizations that is getting funded in this appropriations. I wanted to publicly state today that I support the housing department. I support their process. I support these federal funds coming from Washington to our city to help the individuals that it's supposed to help, and I'm pretty confident that they will go to the people that it's supposed to help. However, since last committee, I was totally against it and move forward. I'm going to still vote against it, but I'm in support of it moving forward, and I'm pretty sure that this organization will do well.
Okay, Councilman Bowman.
Thank you, through Chair and Mr. Dennis. Due to your question, I met with Housing Department too, and of course we all got that report, and I didn't like what I saw in the report, but then when I met with them and found out what she's done with the department and the way it's moving forward and where that organization is doing now, showing what it's doing, I feel comfortable with it. So I'm going to support it, but I did want to thank you for raising an issue because it was a good education for me, and you had reason to be concerned. Thanks.
Councilman Crestobedi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair to Mr. Bowman. Mr. Bowman, when you say report, are you talking about this memo that came out? Do you have anything beyond that, or because this is all I got was this 2-page memo?
No, I got the memo, but then I met with them and we fully discussed the memo.
So is Ms. Birch here today, or anybody? I just had a couple of questions with regard to this memo dated July 25th, and when you talk about these CHODOs having or being current with their property taxes, does any of that include any certificates that might have been sold and bought by a third party?
Stephanie Birch, Neighborhoods Department, through the chair to Councilman Crescenbenny. I imagine at some point in the past that's quite a possibility if there were certificates on property that were sold to someone else. But everything is paid up at this point.
Well, I understand that. But
so it would be current.
Just wondering if the payment, the paid up was the result of receiving a check in the mail, or whether we had to go through the certificate of sale process to collect. You don't know?
No, sir. No, through the chair. No, if there were property taxes outstanding, then all of the entities, as of last year with the controls that council put in place then, would have had to have brought those up to date. So they would have had to have paid all of those, and the certificates would have been dismissed, essentially.
Okay.
Because the taxes were paid.
Okay. Just will you double check that between now and next Tuesday night for me?
Double check what exactly? Whether there were ever certificates issued?
Yeah, do you know how the certificate process works?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that would constitute the payment of taxes because a third party is paying them, right? So are you able to tell whether the property owner paid the tax or whether a third party paid the tax through a certificate sale?
Well, from our perspective, everything would have had to have been paid by the property owner. So a certificate may have been sold, but that still means that the property owner would have owed taxes. So when they bring the taxes up to date, it would have paid off that certificate holder. So the certificate would be dismissed at that point.
Okay. I'll do a little more homework on that, and I may reach back out to you.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. We have no one else on the queue. Can you open the ballot?
Five yeas, 1 nay.
By your action, you approve 2017-427. 2017-433 is going to be deferred. Let's turn to page 4. 2017-448. We have a motion and a second. We have no one on the queue. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The amendment passes. Kirk, can you come up? First, we're going to have Councilman Creston Benny.
Mr. Chairman, through the chair to Mr. Wendland, you and I met last week. I think it was last week. Maybe it was the week before.
Yes, sir.
I had one other follow-up question. The loan portion of this agreement, what position are we in with regard to collection of that loan?
Through the chair to Councilman Creston Benny, we will be in a second position on that loan. There was a first mortgage loan of $180,000 that's in front of us.
And what's that for?
That is for the building, the acquisition of the land and building.
And what's the value of the land and the building?
The land and the building, hold on, I've got that. There was an appraisal done in 2016 that said it was worth $280,000. According to the tax assessed value, currently it's $209,000.
Thank you, Mr. Wedlin.
Okay, Kirk, I have a couple of questions. I had a email from a constituent, and they seem to think that this is a liquor store. Can you kind of explain for the record that it's not a liquor store?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This is not a liquor store. It's a distillery. They hope to, once they get up and running and have some success, potentially have tours. But it is not it's not a liquor store. It's not a bar.
And also in that email, this the same constituent said that the Northwest Trust Fund was funding $86,000. Can you also explain that that is a grant and a loan?
Yes, sir. It's a $25,000 grant and a $61,000 loan for a total of $86,000.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Dennis.
Through the chair to Mr. Whelan, is this business outside of the geographic Northwest Economic Development Fund?
No, it is within the boundaries.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Creston Benny for the second time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair to Mr. Wendland. One other question, since Mr. Newby brought this up. So are you telling me that at some point in the future, the distillery could have public tours?
That is their desire, yes, sir.
And does their current zoning district allow for the sale of any product or food or any food or beverage service on the property?
I do not believe so, but I believe as part of a distillery, they would be able to. I think I believe it's one bottle per year or something that people can buy at the end of a tour.
Say that again?
I believe at the end of a tour, you're allowed to make like one sale per year, one bottle per year.
Yeah, I'm not as concerned about that as I am about, I think when Intuition set themselves up in Riverside, there was a lot of pushback from the neighborhood because they did a lot of business. In addition to producing product, they did a lot of tap room sales, and I don't think that was anticipated. So I'm just trying to find out, can you get an answer from our folks in the planning department whether that type of activity could replicate itself here? Because if there are concerns, as Mr. Newby mentioned, from the community about this being a bar, albeit it may not meet the true definition of a bar, it could look like a bar if they have something similar to a tap room that might serve food and beverage. And so if you'll just run that down, that'd be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Creston Benny. Councilman Love.
Thank you, the chair, to Mr. Wendland. Isn't there a distillery in St. Augustine that has tours as well?
Yes, sir.
Similar.
There is. Yes,
This is going to be similar to that, only probably smaller. I
believe it would be smaller. Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and I believe you're correct on the one bottle is the limit.
Okay, that's it. No one else on the queue. Thank you. Okay, we have no one on the queue. Can you open the ballot?
6 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you approve 2017-448. Okay, 2017-506 is going to be second. 509 is going to be second. Let's turn to page 5. 2017-511 is going to be second. 512, 513, and 516 is going to be second. Okay, let's turn to page 6. 2017-522 is going to be second. 523, 524 is going to be second. 2017-552. We have a motion. No one on the queue. We have a motion and a second for the emergency. All in favor say aye. All oppose. Emergency passes. We have no one on the queue. Can you open the ballot?
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you approve 2017-552. Let's turn to page 7. $2017-553 is going to be second. And that concludes our agenda. Any questions or comment before we adjourn? Yep. Every meeting, you're going to be graded on it. And Councilman Crespi, I know you're going to get an A. I know you're going to be my A student. The other ones I don't know about. Meeting adjourned.